Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 3rd of October. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. Going to give you the broad themes to look out for, but please stay with me. I will go through each of the 12 zodiac signs to give you in much greater detail the key influences for each. Now this week sees Pluto end its retrograde, which began on the 29th of April. Pluto is also going to be linking with Mercury, the planet of communication, now travelling forwards and gaining traction in the sign of Virgo. And that's very much about clarity and precision. And the combination of these two can, if we choose to embrace their joint power, can help us to probe, to research, and to get really clear about some important strands in our situations. The problem is that Mars in the bright and bubbly Gemini is in a right angle with Neptune. And Neptune in the 12th solar house for us all, in a square with Mars in the 3rd, suggests that some of our desires can come from the subconscious, but also we may read or hear things. People may even indulge in gossip with this particular aspect, and that can then inform some of our other actions. And Mars, of course, is very much about desire. So that combination between Mercury and Pluto gives us a chance to try to make sense of some of the confusing energies that could be washing around. I mean, one of the things that could happen with Mars squaring Neptune, which goes on for the whole of October and the whole of November within 3 degrees, is that we can lose power. Our physical vitality is lower, and our thinking around our clarity can be blunted because, of course, like Virgo, Gemini is ruled where Mars is by Mercury, the planet of communication. So there is a real contraflow energy going on between these two sets of influences. Also, of course, Saturn and Uranus, which were so prominent in 2021 and at the start of 2022, are within 1 minute of being exactly square all through this week. So that in itself is something we need to really be conscious of. Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which is very much about land. It can be about food. It can be even about fashion, but obviously very much about daily money and our budgets. That's being challenged by Saturn in the sign of the collective, the sign of Aquarius. So we're all feeling the pinch. There are a lot of headwinds around the cost of living. Some of them, of course, are coming about because of mismanagement by governments. It's not all to do with what we're doing as consumers. There are decisions that have been made which aren't necessarily for most of our benefit. And of course, the war in Ukraine is also having an impact too. But that particular aspect, the one thing about it is that we've had a lot of practice to deal with it. But it will play out in each of the zodiac signs in its own way. And I will share about each of those in much greater detail. Now, towards the end of this week, the Sun starts to go into a really fantastic grand air trine between Saturn, which it's very close to being in trine with, and a bit broader with Mars. And that gives us an opportunity to use the expressive and air energies of each of those planets where they're located, in Gemini, in the Sun in Libra, and of course Saturn in Aquarius, to use the air energy of each of those in a really productive way. And on Sunday there is the full moon in the sign of Aries, and it is going to be in opposition with the Sun, which is pretty much in close contact with Venus, which governs the sign of Libra. Now, if you'd like to know much more about this particular full moon, please see below and you can check out my deep dive special video. But essentially, I think that Venus softens some of the potential tension that this full moon can create each year. But I think the Aries full moon is asking us to think about what we want as individuals. And the moon in Aries can be very immediate. It's not very considered. It's quite an urgent energy. Whereas the Sun and Venus close together in Libra are asking us to think about how we interact with others, how we balance things, how we disseminate information, how we embrace fairness, because those are very Libran energies. But I think the worst of this particular full moon is mitigated somewhat by Venus, but the wider influences at play on this particular event are quite challenging. And of course, one of those is Mars squaring with Neptune. So please join me for that deep dive. But if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast and understand what year 2023 will hold for you personally, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you your forecast for 23, but you'll get the rest of year 2022 free. Plus you'll get your roadmap, your character analysis, which can guide you for the rest of your life and help you to seize opportunities, but also understand more some of the patterns that may have developed in your life, which are not so easy. And there's 30% off with my special package. Please see the link below. Finally, if you are new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. And if you're an ongoing viewer, thank you so much for joining me. So Sagittarius, your week commencing the 3rd of October forecast begins with Mercury gaining traction in your sector of work and interactions in the worldly sphere. So if there has been a bit of confusion in that area, or even around your future direction, I think the fact that Mercury does link so productively with Pluto, which goes forward later this week, in your sector of everyday resources, is a good sign despite the headwinds that we are all facing. What's a bit more complex perhaps is around more emotional relationships. With Mars in your 7th house, this can make you a bit more assertive about your boundaries, but then Neptune in the 4th can make you a bit confused about what you're really enforcing your boundaries around. So that's a more challenging energy. And of course, Saturn and Uranus have been grating against each other broadly for up to 2 years now. But just know by the end of November, that particular aspect, which has been so dominant, is going to start to make way. So if there is some tension or some stress within your situation this week, try to be philosophical. I feel like all of us, you will have gained much greater insights as to what the patterns are, but also learned what your responses are to deal with them. So all the experience of the last couple of years can start to really come in very usefully. Now, towards the end of this week, of course, we do have that 5th, 11th house axis full moon. So it may be important for you to really think about how much time you are getting to have fun and play, or to interact and mingle with others. If it has been seriously under pressure of late, I think the fact that Venus is very close to the Sun suggests that it can be a real antidote to some of these more worldly pressures to get together with the people that you most enjoy spending time with.